initiated your entrepreneur journey?
Well, it's an interesting question, and I don't know if there's one reason necessarily. I think there's a host of reasons. I think that's common for a lot of people who choose entrepreneurship. Um, I think everybody does have a creative side and a desire to express themselves and a desire to share that with people. Um, Rock climbing has always been one of my passions, and from a very young age, my friends and I, we always talked about creating these environments, whether it was, we enjoyed soccer, we enjoyed just hanging out, or we like to do, skateboarding and eating stuff. So we're always like, oh, we'll have a restaurant with a skateboard park in the back and a little soccer field against, all these things, and we'll just combine all of our passions, and then that's sure to work, right? Like if we just go out there and combine the things that we really enjoy and share it with others, then yeah, that's kind of where it comes from, right? I think the entrepreneurship spirit, just to go and put yourself out there and do things that you're passionate about. This specific journey was real, though, right? Like it went from just talking about it and expressing what we wanted to do to actually going out there and doing it. And so it's easy to have the desire to share your passions with everyone, but I think it's the committing and tipping over, going past the point of no return that is the hard part. But I think with this, the gym, it had a lot to do with the people I had around me. I think that kind of initiated this specific portion of my entrepreneurial spirit.
How so?
So I have a good friend. His name is Chris, and I met him through swimming. We were swimming at the YMCA, and then through kind of our mutual enjoyment of triathlons and swimming and doing that sort of stuff typically it's hard, right? Like it's challenging. So I met Chris through the pursuit of like doing challenging things. And then as our relationship progressed, we would meet once a week and just talk about the things that were happening in our life. And we would discuss the hardships and the things that we're striving towards. And the common message was always, if you seek out things that are challenging, you're going to build yourself and the life that you have. So we would do like little fundraiser things, like we would do the 4x4x48, which is you run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours, and then so you run a total of 48 miles in 2 days.
Wow.
So you just it's basically sleep deprivation and running and fundraising, and it's cool. And we both agreed that things like that, doing challenging things, kind of works the muscle in your brain that helps you do more challenging things. So we were, on this natural progression in this path. And then, he was seeking out, he had these big visions, right? Like he wanted to start a software company where he would, had all these ideas. And then he's like, what's your dream? Like, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I like what I'm doing. And it was kind of, and then, the conversation progressed. And I'm like, like I'm not doing things that I'm super passionate about, and I'm definitely not doing things that are challenging me in my working career, my profession. Even though I enjoyed it, it wasn't from the heart. It wasn't from my passions, right? So he kind of teased it out of me that I've always kind of thought about, it'd be kind of cool to share my passion of rock climbing with the community. We don't have a gym in Stratford,
Right.
so that kind of like got me thinking, and he's like, well, come up with a plan. Like, it doesn't hurt to come up with a plan.
He was challenging you.
Yeah, just like, and then we'll meet next week, and let me know, and I'll like bounce ideas off of me, because he's done some of these things. So that's kind of how it started for this specific venture. And then I did that step, and then I'm like, okay, so here's kind of my rough plan. He's like, okay, cool. So yeah, you're going to work on a business plan. I'm like, okay, yeah. So I started doing that. And then he's like, oh, you probably want to call it. So he was kind of keeping me accountable. Yeah. And I think having surrounding yourself with people like that is really important. One, that they're honest with you, and they themselves are seeking things that they're passionate about. Right. Rather than hearing everyone say, well, this is good enough, and you should be good with good enough. And then from there, it just was one step after the other. I just would do the next step. And and slowly but surely, I started to keep myself accountable for my own vision, and then I could see the vision, right? Like, and once I found a company that would help me build the walls, and then I found like the place was kind of hard. One day he's like, "Hey, have you found a place yet?" And I'm like, "No, not yet." He's like, "Okay, my realtor's calling you this afternoon." Like,
He was really
yeah,
pushing.
oh yeah, he was like, yeah, because he's like, yeah, I think he had someone in his life. Well, no, I think he, we're all different, right? But I think that we would all benefit from someone in our life that's like, hey, like, are you happy? Are you doing something you really enjoy? Because I think personally, I have a tough time holding myself accountable.
Often,
I
we
think,
often do.
right?
Yeah.
So it was like hearing it from his perspective was really like, oh, yeah, I could do more. I could do better. And it was like, so I met with the realtor and we started looking at places and started having real conversations that I had to dress up for and like, look like I knew what I was doing, but I had no idea what I was doing. And yeah, so
At what point did it feel real?
it started to feel real, very real, when I met with the CEO of Impact, Kyle. He's also similar. I don't know, not necessarily similar to me, but he pursued what he was passionate about, and that's like building rock climbing walls and building companies. And he met me at one of the locations that I was looking at the time, and we were talking about how the space would change and what we had to do. And then it was like, okay, like I have people that I'm bringing in to my plan and my dream, and so I have people around me now. Like, okay, this is something that if I don't like bringing people along and then not standing by my word, and so I'm like, okay, now we have other people involved. This is real.
Yeah.
And
The integrity part.
yeah, keeping the integrity, I think it's important. I think, a lot of that comes from just the family that I have. That they may not have a climbing gym like this, but some of the biggest lessons I learned from my parents, my grandparents, was always be honest with others. It's the biggest thing they always push was be honest with others around you.
I think it's great that he asked you the big question: what do you want to do? What do you really want?
Yeah.
In my coaching, that's the number one question many people say they've never been asked.
Yeah.
So to have actually someone ask you that real question, what do you really want out of life, really makes you think.
Absolutely.
And says, you mean I have choice?
Yeah, right? You have a choice. You do have a choice.
Yeah.
You might not think that at first because, we tend to think pretty linearly, like, I must work and I must make money, I have bills to pay, and it's very like, but it does, and then once someone is honest with you like that, you're like, oh, well, like, I could do this, and you start planning, and then the plan formulates, and you're like, okay, like, this could happen. Yeah. There are, companies and grant opportunities, and or if you just have a really good plan, then people will jump behind it, right? So then you're like, huh.
So you're an advocate of business plans.
Definitely. I definitely am. I think that it's really important to like, yes, you must be passionate. You must, there must be a vision and a dream, but to actually put it into play and actually go through the motions and create something out of it, you must. And it's difficult as someone who is kind of like more of a dreamer and more of a like physically doer, like, okay, I can swing a hammer and lift this and move that, and I like to move my body, but sitting down and being like, okay, how are we going to do this?
Get into the granular.
Yeah, you must. Yes, I think so. And when I started the journey, I was fortunate enough that the people around me that I started bringing into my dream had tools that I could leverage. Right. Like Impact, the awesome people who built the walls, they supported me with a lot of like climbing industry data from North America, which was huge, and reaching out to other helpful companies in the area that help entrepreneurs. That was good, but just it showed me that if you reach out to people and you just like, people want others to succeed. Yeah. I think the majority do.
I think so.
And then so from there, formulating a plan was kind of just, it developed into a natural flow. If you just I focus on one step at a time. I'm like, okay, I need data. Okay, now I need a place to put all this. And so I found an online website that was like, helped me generate the plan by just like kind of like moving through the different steps of what a business plan is comprised of, right? So
What's your vision,
Yeah.
mission, values?
Yeah.
What is your director's statement? That
Yep.
one's always a big one.
yeah,
right?
it is, absolutely, yeah.
It's like, what do you mean you want my statement? I'm
Yeah.
just going to open up a business.
Yeah, right? If I build it, people will just come and know what this is, and I will know what this is, and it'll just formulate itself. Yeah. A little bit it does, but it does that during that thinking stage. Yeah.
I put people through a focus program, which is basically a business plan in
Yep.
a sense. And it's, again, just going through everything about your business that you may not know and identifying those things that you don't know so you can
Right.
ask the right questions and
Yeah.
ask yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and the finance part is always the fun part because it's like, I'm going to take numbers out of the air.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a little bit of optimism there. There always is, right? Because when you do look at the numbers, then it's like, okay, this is real. Those numbers don't lie. Okay, I'm going to need to figure out a way to make them work, right?
Yes.
That's a real way to make them work.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So what guided your vision while you were creating your business?
What guided my vision? Well, I kind of envisioned, I started off by just thinking what this, like, what pursuit climbing might look like. And I, at first, like, envisioned a physical space, and then I kind of, like, developed an idea, well, and then I hit a reality check when I'm like, okay, we can't have that grandiose space, like, it can't be as maybe tall as we want. I originally wanted route walls, which are, like, quite tall, and it was difficult to find a space. So the vision kept changing, and it kind of was kept in check by like what I had access to, but it always came back to like me imagining people in the space and enjoying it, and that's what I wanted. I wanted people to find their passion of rock climbing, right? Our mission or vision, I forget which one it is. I'm sure, but it's to ignite and foster the pursuit of climbing. So I always envisioned the space with people, you know, like enjoying the walls and finding a way to move their bodies that was really cool and I think comes natural to a lot of people. So that was the base. And then I envisioned a big part of my vision was seeing my kids in the space, right? Seeing I have 2 young boys, and I imagined how they would interact with the space and how families would come in and how my family would live here, not this specific location, but just within the whole vision. And
To bring it into, it's not just a business, it's almost part of your life.
yeah, it absolutely is. It is in every sense of the way. Like it's, it takes, when you start a business, it does take a significant portion of your time and your effort and your mental, just the space available in your mental side of things, like in your brain. And if you can bring family into that in a supportive way, it's cool. So like my kids come to the space and they climb, and it's an environment that's created to welcome that, right? Like so that's really cool. And then,
you're creating a community.
Absolutely.
In so many ways.
Yeah.
Not only for your family, but for everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. And that was what the vision was. I just wanted to create a community where we could enjoy something that I was passionate about. And then it's changed along the way. You know, you run into problems, you run into, the ideas around the vision change, but the vision still is very much so the same as when it started, was just, to create a community, to create a space that was welcoming, inviting, and just showed people how awesome rock climbing and the community around rock climbing can be.
And I can attest to that because I'm here 3 times a week as
Yeah.
much as I can.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome
I
to see
love
you
it.
climbing in the gym, Phil. Yeah.
It's great exercise. It's
Yep.
A great way to stay moving. My chiropractor has even said my muscles in my back are developing the right way.
Cool.
And so that's, and that's really encouraging.
That is. Yeah, we're made to move. We are made to move, and I think we're put into these. If with the other things that happen in our life, we do a lot of sitting, and we're But when you actually find that it feels good to move and express yourself in that way, it's just it's very natural.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And the books are all about technique and making it feel more natural in a sense.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know?
Using like the natural mechanics of our body. Yeah, we have an amazing, like, we have long limbs, we have these hands that can grab things, and we can, when not necessarily many of us, but we can get to the point where when we do express ourselves in that way, we create more range of motion, and we're just expressing, I think, our natural anatomy more, and this is a cool way to do it, right? Yeah.
It's so great to see kids come here
Yeah.
with their families,
Yeah.
and everybody's all excited.
Yeah.
And when you're doing a climb that's challenging, you develop relationships, and everybody's cheering you on.
Yeah.
It's such a great community.
Yeah.
That way.
I think it's pretty natural across like the climbing industry. Most gyms you go to, you feel at home if you have been to a climbing gym or you are a climber, because the community kind of fosters this, right? We're all just excited to be doing what we're doing, and we share that with one another, right?
We do.
Yeah.
And it's irrelevant of anything. Like anybody can climb.
I think so.
Pretty
Yep.
much,
Yep. I think so. There's some cool folks in London that they have an adaptive climbing group, so they get people that have never tried climbing before. Maybe they depend on a wheelchair. Maybe they don't have as much sight as you and I do, and they get on the wall too. Like, there's a really cool guy in town. His name's Chaz. He's on Team Canada for climbing, and he's visually impaired. But like, the guy climbs like really hard, and it's really cool to see. And when I have people that come into the gym and they're hesitant, many people that are have never tried climbing before, they are hesitant. Like, a lot of people are scared of heights. A lot of people are like, well, what if I fall? I'm not too scared about being high on the wall. I'm scared of coming down really quick, right? But then they try it and they ease into it, and then they find that they do enjoy climbing and they can climb, which is cool. And it is I think a universal thing.
And it's that personal challenge as well. That I'm going to try to get to the next level. I'm going to try to do whatever I can to get to that next level, and that self-accomplishment that you feel when you conquer something you never thought you could do. Yeah, it's pretty encouraging.
Yeah, it definitely is. I think that we are all capable of things that we feel are outside of our wheelhouse or what we are currently capable of. Like, before this, I thought there was a person, a type that did, they create gyms, they start businesses, right? Oh, those people. And then, no, it's all of us, right? Like, we all have passions and visions that we know are in here that don't, come to fruition, right? We don't make them real because we do put limits on ourselves like that. But when we do something that is challenging, and maybe we don't succeed like the way we thought we would, but we went out and tried it, you do feel really good about that. You feel really good about, that was hard, and I persevered through it. Yeah. And then the more difficult, challenging situations you encounter, and like I said before, I think that helps you do more challenging things in the future, right?
Yeah. It's good to challenge ourselves.
I think so.
Instead of having that status quo and get out of our comfort zone.
Yep.
But climbing helps me get out of my comfort zone. I'm an introvert, so coming here and being part of a community and meeting all the wonderful people, it's pretty awesome.
It is cool, isn't it? Yeah.
So what kept you motivated through adversity during your growth of becoming an entrepreneur?
What kept me motivated? Well, at first, my vision and my passion motivated me, and my friend Chris, and just being accountable, and then having other people that came into the dream and then kept me accountable. But once like, I found a place, I signed a lease, I went to the bank and I got the funds to do this, and some other there's some other cool places in town that help entrepreneurs meet their financial requirements. Then it was the people that depended on me, right? And I think, like, one thing that really, like, my passion ignites a fire inside of my heart, but once I bring other people and other people are depending on me, then it's real. Then for me it's kind of like, it feels like, well, you've started this, and you be honest with the people around you, be honest with yourself. Are you doing all that you can, or as much as you can to make this come to fruition? And so that's what motivated me. And I wanted my kids to see that their dad could do something really hard that he's never done before. And I wanted the other people around me to see that this can be done for themselves. So that's, and of course, my signature on a really important piece of paper definitely kept me motivated too. Like at that point, I wanted to succeed, but once people knew about my dream to open this gym, and once they knew that I was doing it, then it's the community around me that I was like, I want to make sure that they get to experience this. So
It becomes bigger than yourself.
it does, right? Yeah.
I learned very quickly when I took over my first jewelry store
Yeah.
that when I had staff, I excelled.
Yeah.
When I was just by myself, you kind of lose that momentum.
You do.
Some people don't, and I just know this of myself.
Yeah.
I excel when I have people around me that
Yeah.
I can bounce ideas
Yeah.
and help them grow, help me grow, and we come together for a united vision.
Yes.
It keeps me motivated, but when I'm working all by myself, trust me, I lose my motivation. I lose my mojo, right?
Yeah, absolutely you do. Yeah, and that's true for many aspects of life. Like, if I don't know, you've ever been out on a run or doing something physically challenging, when you're just by yourself, you're like, all right, yeah, I think that's enough. Like, there's a hill there, I'm gonna just walk up that hill, right? Like, or, something like that, or climbing. When you're climbing by yourself, where, and there's no community around you, you're kind of like, yeah, it's good enough, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, then when you do have a community around you, they do push you, and there's like, it develops into something that's bigger than just yourself. Yeah. That's definitely what this is. Like, we have members like you and regular people that come and they use the space and they find passion in the space. So now I feel an obligation to continue fostering that space and to continue growing it, and I'm responsible for it, and it's a beautiful thing. So that keeps it going.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
It also brings that human element in instead of
Yes.
something else. You're actually seeing people grow, and
Yeah.
you want to keep it going or make it better.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or open up in a second location.
Yeah. Gotta have dreams and goals. Yes, absolutely. 100%. Yeah.
So we talked about adversity, but did
Yeah.
you mention any adversity?
Well, I didn't talk about specifics, but there definitely was adversity. This was a huge learning curve. Like, many of the things that the business, like starting the business required, the skills that it required, I didn't have. I had tenacity, and I've always been open to learning new things. But I haven't done any accounting, bookkeeping. I've done a little bit of drywall, but not enough that I'd want to show anybody what I've done, right? Like, and so those skills, I had to learn them.
Yeah.
And so there were those roadblocks along the way that required more skill, and I had to meet it by learning those skills. So or negotiating a lease, right? Like, or how do I interact in a formal setting? So there's tons of adversity. One specifically, so this space, if we want to kind of get into like the details of this space, which is a fantastic space, and I'm really happy I found it. But we had to, because this is a different use in the space, I had to increase the rating on the fire barrier between myself and my neighbor. And that required for and it's quite a big wall. Like, Phil's looking at it right now. We're 16 feet high and we're about 50 feet wide, and then there's several walls that are like that. So I had to tear down the washrooms. The washrooms were already here. I had to tear them down. My dad and I were just here, just removing all the metal studs. We got an electrician in to turn off the electricity, but we had to tear all that out, and we had to tear all the drywall off, and we had to replace all the insulation, and we had to put these C channels to when we hung the drywall had to be further away, and I didn't know any of this. I had to read the building, the Ontario built, like the Act, to know what, to kind of to fish through all of these, all this technical information to make sure that what we did was matching that. So that was a massive hurdle.
And was there any of that part of your original business plan?
Well, no, right? Like, because in my head, I'm like, well, we'll find a space and we'll just build a wall, and it'll be great. Like, so but
the additional costs, the additional resources, and everything is like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
Now I've got to adjust and
yes,
deal with that.
yeah. I think it's important to have a plan in place for those things that you don't expect to happen. I think, like, I was lucky enough that when I did get funding and I did create the business plan, I'm not lucky enough, I put the effort in. I knew that we were going to run into stuff. I've never built a space like this, so I don't really know exactly how much it costs, but I used my best, educated guess,
Yep.
and then I put a big cushion on the back of it, right? So
Cushions are good.
yes, they are. They're very soft when you fall, which you will.
I've seen some very, very lean business plans. It's
Yeah.
like, did you plan for the unexpected?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like, no,
Yeah.
none of that, it's all going to go perfect. It's like,
Yeah.
it never goes perfect.
Yeah, exactly right.
It's like doing construction in a house.
Yeah.
If you have an old home,
Yep.
you rip open that wall. Well, that could be a bunch of newspaper instead of insulation.
Yeah, right. Or asbestos.
Yep.
And then you really have to change it. Like you need to really make some big changes.
Exactly.
But yeah, that happens along the way.
Yeah.
With everything. You have to tear down a wall, you have to rebuild a washroom, you have to grind all the floors down, and you have to fill all the holes, and you have to, all the things. It was constant every day. People were going to be here. I would schedule the inspector if they came on Wednesday, we talked about it, they didn't pass it, I would schedule them for the next day, and I would stay. Oftentimes I work into like the mid morning, like 3 a.m. Because I knew the inspector was going to come, and so I kept myself accountable by doing that and keeping tight deadlines. But you really have to be flexible, and you have to come to you just have to.
Yeah.
You have to put yourself in a position that you have to.
Yeah.
Because otherwise.
And being able to step up.
Yeah.
And just do it.
Yes. Yeah.
It's only you.
Yeah, it is only you. Yeah, it is. Yeah. And there's no book. There's no like, how do you do this? And well, of course, for the little things, but not how to start a business really, or life in general. There's no textbook. You have to do it, and you have to do it on your own. You can bring people in, and you can ask them for help, and that was really important. I had a lot of people that helped me, but at the end of the day, it's your signature on the paper, and you have to do it, and that keeps you going. That's definitely motivation.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
A little bit, not as fun motivation,
No.
but it is motivation.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
that accountability of just, I'm responsible for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So how has following your dreams affected other aspects of your life? Like now that you're an entrepreneur?
I think it's I've opened my vision of what is possible. It's changed on the smaller end of scales. Like my family, we spend a lot of time here now. I spend a lot of time here now, and I'm involved in the climbing community, and I have a bunch of new people in my life, like yourself and all the people that share this space. But it's also showed me that I can, like I've done another big hard thing. So I could probably do a little bit bigger hard thing. So it's widened what I think I'm capable of and what my life might look like. And then it's also taught me that, how to move through adversity, and how to do it with a smile. Sometimes you feel like you're alone, right? But if you just continue to know that it worked out before, it can work out again. Like that was a big part of it. Yeah, I mean, it's just changed everything. It's just changed. I don't know. It's like hard to pick it apart,
life.
but it did. Yeah, it did. Yeah.
So you're married and you have 2 kids.
I am, yeah.
How has, because it takes sacrifice going into business.
Yep.
How has that been in working with your family, like your immediate family?
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely had a lot of support. My wife was huge. Without her, this wouldn't happen. It is as it has, right?
Yeah.
Like without the people that have my family members, not just my wife, my dad, my mom, like everyone. And I don't want to name everyone, but everyone has a big part in it. The people around you are the people that you carry with you are huge parts of things that you do. It meant some nights where I didn't get to put my kids to bed. It meant there was sacrifice. I'm fortunate enough that I have my partner knows all about that. She is an entrepreneur herself. She has her own business, so it really helped. Like the people that you keep around you, if you have like-minded opinions and you are both aware of like, you know, life has hardships and we can overcome them, it helps a huge amount, right? Like it's massive. So there was just a lot of understanding there. But fewer story times. But now that I have the business going, I have
evening it out.
yeah, I have a team. I've developed a team because I'm passionate and the vision is there. We've had people that have come into the vision themselves and have started to help, and without them this business wouldn't run. I'm speaking specifically about, like, I guess staff, but I like to call them, we're like a team. So then now I can go and do bedtime, and so bringing people around and including them in your dream helps. So like the family's included in the dream. The people that are part of the gym are included in the dream. So yeah, if you keep a positive attitude and you remember that some of the balls in your life, like if you're like, then I love the analogy of you're always juggling all these balls, right? But they're made of different materials, and some of them, if you drop them on the floor, they'll be okay and you can pick them back up. But some of them are very fragile, like they're made of like glass, right? Like, so you just want to be aware of which ones you can drop and which ones need to stay up. And I think family, like if this business didn't succeed, or, you know, all the hardships of, if we had another lockdown, like the reality, a lot of entrepreneurs have dealt with that. And like, if we went out of business, I would still have my family there. Yeah. So you want to make sure yes, it's been harder on them, but you want to make sure that you, at the end of the day, that you support that and you don't drop that ball. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I read a book and I often recommend it for entrepreneurs, great CEOs, how they're made.
Yes.
The big key from that is walk in the four corners and share your vision. Yep. Because when people, your team, your family, everybody, if everybody's rallied around you, you've got the backbone that you need when you don't have it, right? Yeah.
And I think it's good to be aware of where you are in those relationships, like where, like, is the relationship feeling some strain? Okay, then I need to pick up a little bit on my end to keep the balance, right? So yeah, some days I could pull people in to help me, and they were really happy to, but you can't do that all the time. And some nights you just have to kind of like go through on your own, and it's about having that time when it's just you, but then also bringing people in, and then doing things outside of the business. I know that, like, this is that when you do start a business, it draws you in it entirely, right? Like you are devoted to it, but it is not you, right? Like you are still unique, you are still an individual, and that's, I think, a lot of entrepreneurs lose that feeling of uniqueness and their individuality, and yes, I have passions outside of having a climbing gym and like climbing, right? So
you can't forget about you.
No, it's hard to balance, but I think if you put effort into being prepared, and I feel like I'm never really truly prepared, it's constantly a balance, but if you do remember that that's important too, then you still have those people that can help support you another time in the future, right?
During my programs, I often tell people, you are not your business.
Yes, definitely.
You are a steward of your business.
Yep.
Your business, we all can agree, your business wouldn't be there if it weren't for you. Yeah. But it can't consume you. No. Because without giving your head space of that refreshing in your own personal life, doing what you enjoy outside of your business, it can consume you.
Yeah, definitely can. Yeah. I think mental health and entrepreneurship is well, it's huge, right?
Exactly.
A lot of people struggle. Once you're here, you are alone. Sometimes you do feel alone, and the stresses are real and they're big, and you're like, okay, how am I going to do this? And remembering that there are other things and tools you have in your life, like your other passions and the family you have around you, to kind of like help you get through those things. It's really important. Yeah.
Because it totally can consume me.
It can indeed, yeah.
I've watched so many people, well, it's my business, and then they don't separate their business from their own finances.
Yeah.
And, because I'm a bookkeeper as well as a coach, I really look at that, and you've got to keep that distance between you and your personal life.
You do.
And have that creative space for you to recharge and dream.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Without the dreaming, if you lose that dreaming capability, you can just be sucked right into your business, and it's just every day it's another challenge after another challenge after another challenge.
Right.
So when you have that time to reflect and be creative, you can approach every day slightly different
Yeah.
with a more positive outlook, even during the tough times.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So what lessons of entrepreneurship has taught you?
What
What have you
lessons has
learned?
entrepreneurship taught me? Well, one of the big ones is just do it. Not entrepreneurship necessarily, but don't wait. Like, as much as we talked about planning, and it's important to plan, sometimes you just literally have to jump in and do it. And you're going to make mistakes. All the things that I did in here, I screwed up the first time. Some things I screwed up the second time. But those are all really massive lessons that it's taught me that now I have those skills.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is you're going to screw up, go do it, learn, it's going to be okay.
Almost
Yeah.
like climbing.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't be afraid of falling.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
You're going to fall.
You're going to fall.
You're going to fall.
Embrace the fall.
Yeah, you can't prevent it from happening. It's real. Entrepreneurship is definitely, relatable to climbing. You will fall. You're gonna forget to do, you're gonna forget to pay this bill, or you're gonna, whatever, right? Like,
Yeah.
there's so many things. Or you're gonna, like the front counter, the desk that I stand behind every single day is a reminder that you can create something beautiful out of a bunch of failures. So at first it's an epoxy table, and Phil's familiar with this, but I spent so much time, and 40 hours and so many evenings and working through the night. I screwed it up the first time. I didn't mix the parts evenly, and then it didn't set properly, and so that was a big financial oopsie daisy. And then, but I just persevered, and I screwed up maybe 5 times, but it's now there, right? Like, it's there, and everyone compliments me on the table, and the common thing is like, oh, who made this table? And they expect it to be someone that makes tables for a living. Like, they expect someone that is runs climbing gyms for a living to be running this climbing gym, but it isn't, right? Like, I just say, oh, that was me, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
And then they say, I could never do something like that. That's really nice. And I said, well, I could never do that before I did it. Right? So you screw up, you learn the lessons, and now it's a really good reminder of if you just persevere, and that if you just continue the forward motion, that it will happen. And that's very similar to the gym. It's a good analogy for the gym too, because there was a lot of adversity and a lot of lessons learned, but when you just continue to stick with it, it will happen. Right?